Welcome back, everyone, to Gotcha Interact. Today we're going to be talking about Chiori, looking at whether or not right now, especially on her first rerun, if she's actually worth it. Now, we've already done it to pull or not to pull, so if you want to go watch that video on whether or not Chiori's actually useful right now to actually pull, looking at every different factor of that, go ahead and take a look at that video. But today we're going to be talking about Chiori, obviously looking at, since she is a rerun to character, this is going to be her first rerun, and kind of looking at the banner, which the 4 stars aren't looking that hot, sadly. Also getting put alongside of a very strong 5-star character, Chiori doesn't really have a lot going for her. So let's go ahead and dive right in. Rift, let's look at this entire idea of a cluster frick, and what are your first thoughts about what's going on here?
Well, I could be optimistic about this, but this is just I've hit the end of the line here. It's kind of sad because Dory and Candace are, for just being completely honest with the state of the game and end game, they're kind of useless. Sure,
What?
you can use them.
No.
You could use them Imaginary Theater. Okay, whatever. And I, of all people, am one who will actually. I built C6 Story. Okay, I can say these things, guys. I have the C6 Candace and I built it. Okay, Kale, she's okay. She's free. You get her in the Abyss. Constellations are actually pretty good. She's a valuable and worth it kind of character to build. Has some good artifacts set. So in terms of 4 stars, the banner kind of sucks because Kale's already free and the other two just are garbage. Chiori, now this is the main focus of the video. And Vixen, I kind of want to know your thoughts initially. We already know, I think, and most of us people watching too, most of the reason people will be pulling on this banner in 5.1 is Xilonen. She's got the high value, and we've already discussed about that in the to pull and not to pull. But what specifically to you, Vixen, about Chiori would still give her, or maybe some other people, have a reason to pull?
So overall, if you are looking to pull Chiori, I know we're going to talk a lot bad about this her in a sense, but yeah, let's go ahead and talk about the positives before we just absolutely decimate everything that's going to happen here. Looking at Chiori, there's a few different teams that you're going to want to go for Chiori if you are doing this. So full Geo teams, or mono Geo, or Geo with Bennett, whatever that looks like, right? Throwing in someone
Just
like
add Bennett.
Ito, yeah, throwing in Chiori with Ito and Zhongli, or and Albedo with or Goro, or that combo of a mono Geo team, right? Just all Geo characters. Sometimes, obviously, one of those characters might be switched with Farina or something, but main
Mm-hmm.
focus is that. The biggest picture, though, with Chiori, which we're going to talk about later, because of specific passive talent with Chiori, and we talked about in the Topo not Topo, is the whole point of getting another construct out there to get an extra Geo damage bonus. So the whole point of that is to get another character like Zhongli, which, my personal opinion, if you don't have Zhongli, don't pull Chiori. Just go for Zhongli. He's probably a better character to fill that slot, anyways. But the good thing about Chiori is that she does have some pretty good damage, and from off field as well. And like I said, she can get double the amount of damage out by putting another Tamato out on field when you have another character that has a Geo construct out. So, Geo main character, the little Ushi that Ito puts out, Zhongli's pillar. There's a few other ones that can work. It just really depends on what you're going after when it looks like Chiori. So, I don't know. What are your thoughts? That's just me.
No, I actually think a lot of what you said right there is the most realistic way to look at it in terms of value and where she might sit in terms of, for those of you who like tier lists, she's not S tier by any means. I wouldn't say she's that. But for sub DPS, because that's what she is, I would put her in A tier. She's got the damage. It is there, especially if you are building the teams correctly. I mean, the characters I like to compare her to are characters like Yaimiko or Emily, especially because of that. That's just what they do. They're not meant to be the ones taking the field primarily. They come on field for a little bit. They're kind of quick swappy, but a lot of their damage is happening while they're off field. And so, kind of looking into that, when you actually see a built Chiori's numbers in the right teams, like I was saying, it's not negligible damage. It's actually pretty good, and especially like Vixen was saying, if you have a character like Zhongli, which I would agree actually that you should pull first. Zhongli's just way more universal. Yes, he's an older character, but he still remains to be a pretty valuable character. He's still the best shielder in the game, which is still tends to be one of the best teammates for certain characters, especially charge attack characters. I could go on about Zhongli. The point is, he has a little bit more value in our opinions. And so if you're thinking about your first Geo character, it's probably just better to wait for his rerun, which is probably pretty imminent with all of these Archon reruns, anyways. That being said, if you already have that, Chiori's not a bad option. There's a lot of synergy there. And so even though you have a restriction like constructs that we could keep talking about, it's not like a major restriction. It kind of is, but you don't have to let that limit. Now, I don't think you should pull Chiori or use her outside of that. It's just it is a pretty big decrease. It is. But if you're using, like, let's say a Navia team with just only double Geo, obviously you're not getting a construct in that team, but that team still works pretty well, and you can do some pretty fun things with like a Navia Chiori. And if you're like using Farina Xian Yun and doing like Plunge Navia, yeah, there's no constructs in that team, but it's still really, really fun, and it's honestly a very good team. And Chiori has a lot of fun factor for that team as well. So like that's something you can definitely do, and I wouldn't say to not pull for that. That's what you're going for because that's a good team. So don't get me wrong. And I don't think it's so much Chiori's fault, right? It's kind of just she has a very simple kit. Yes, it's you could blame Geo too, but like I said, she's got some pretty good damage. And I think when you think about what she's supposed to do in her role as a sub DPS, she's not supposed to be the star of the show. She's not supposed to be the main damage dealer. She's there for kind of quick swap, a little bit of supplemental damage. Once again, I like Emily as an example because Emily's not the star of the show. It's usually Kanish. And so with that in mind, I wouldn't pull Emily before pulling Kanish. And so that's I think a very good analogy for just pull a like Zhongli or just an actual straight up Geo DPS first, like Navia or Ito, before getting a character like this.
Yeah, I would agree. And going back to that Navia team, the only reason I would be pulling Chiori is for my Navia. Navia has a lot of
Mm-hmm.
application once again for off field. Now, once again, you could talk about Zhongli and Albedo for off field application for Geo just to create crystallize consistently. But it's not like Chiori doesn't help with that either. Also,
Right.
with I believe a passive talent, every 2 seconds she's having a coordinated attack go out as well. So never mind that every 3 seconds or 3.5 seconds or something like that is the interval of hit from her Tamato coming out from her skill, but she's also got a coordinated attack happening every 2 seconds as well when you do a normal and plunge and charge attack or think. So all of that being said, you're still getting out some pretty good applications. So like you said, Rift, I totally agree. That Geo team with Navia could work really well. What I would do
Mm-hmm.
is a Farina and a Bennett with Navia and Chiori. So definitely a solid team to go for as well. But now let's go ahead and look at the other side of this. The 4 stars, like we were talking about, really definitely bring this banner down. Overall, though, I think looking at the entire banner, look at the other side of the banner. Look at who she's running with. We're going against a character that is possibly changing the game and is rivaling someone like Kazua's potential in strength and supportive capabilities, Xilonen.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about that? Because to me, that's already a foot in the grave. You know what I mean for Chiori
Yeah,
here.
yeah. No, I think you're exactly right. I think most people looking at these banners are just looking at Xilonen primarily, and we're anticipating some good 4 stars, of course. But now that we actually know that, it's kind of like that, like you're saying, a nail in the coffin to be like, okay, I'm just gonna pull Xilonen. Or for people that were kind of on the fence with Xilonen, or maybe leaning more towards no, or just like, okay, yeah, I can safely just save past 5.1, save for my Chaska, save for my Mawika, whatever you want to save for. This can actually help. And so for some players, banners like these or just phases like these are kind of nice. They're kind of like a blessing in disguise because you can just rest easy, like, okay, I don't have to be worried about, oh, do I want this character or not? Now Shilonen's good, and so that's a character you should at least consider. Even if you already have Kazuo, even if you already have Farina, you have all of these things. She's just gonna be a really great character. Her value's there. With Chiori though, it's very difficult to actually place a lot of value, but in her good teams and where she shines most, I actually think she's a top of A tier character. She's actually very good, and I can definitely see and have seen actually her clearing the last floor of the abyss in the right teams. She does her job and does it well.
Yeah, I think it's almost like if you were to put, for instance, Kazuha and Yae Miko on a banner, like you were talking about before, Yai Miko, Emily are kind of similar in that idea. So if you
Right.
put Yai Miko on the same side with a Kazuo, or for instance, the Shilonen with Chiori, what would we see from people? We'd see a lot of people saying,
Hmm.
well, Fischl does the same thing
It's like,
as
oh,
my Yai
obviously
Miko.
Kazuha, right?
Right. So it's like I got
Yeah,
Fischl
yeah.
to do Yai Miko's job. I'll just go for Kazuo. Or I already have Kazuo. There's no point in pulling Yai Miko. I'm just gonna skip. Like you said, I think that was a really good point. It's a very easy to see skip patch, especially if you're not going after Shilonen and you're going after Chaska or if you're
Hmm.
going after Mawika. So
Hmm. And even
overall,
characters like Nahida. I mean,
that's true.
you think about the second half too. Some people don't have Nahida. I mean, Hu Tao, if you don't have Arlecchino, I guess, right? But I
Hmm.
think Nahida is the other thing to think about here that's kind of hiding behind the next thing. And
I
like a
totally
lot of
forgot
people
about her
might
on that
be,
side.
so like it could, that's just another thing to think about.
And I mean, the 4 stars could even be better on the banner too.
Yeah.
I think yeah, no, I totally didn't even think about that. I mean, an Archon and one of the strongest Archons in terms of pull factor is on the other side. So now a lot of
Hmm.
people probably have Nahida already if they wanted her. I think she's had more than one rerun at this point. So, you
Hmm.
probably have a maybe she's only had one. I don't know. Probably had two. I don't
I
know.
think she was with Nahida Nilu for her first rerun and then Nahida Shanyu in 4.4. So I think this is her third.
Okay. Okay. So this is her second rerun. I think the people who have her might have her. The people who might want her still might go after her. But I still think, like you're saying, that's actually now that I think about that even more, this is probably a lot easier of a skip than I was originally planned in my head. I wasn't even thinking
Hmm.
about second half, but I mean, Hu Tao's yeah, strong character like you were saying, but Nikita just kind of
Hmm.
knocks it out of the
I think
park
it's
for
just
Chiori
more
here.
like black and white more than other banners. Like you can clearly see what you may want. Some people are going to want the Geo because they've already kind of dipped into that and want to dip into it more. And so it's very clear to look at this banner and be like, okay, you've got Shilon and Chiori, the Geo stuff, and Shilonen is just kind of more universal. And then Nahida is helping a lot with Dendro teams because if you're I mean, think about it. Nihida doesn't get used outside of Dendro teams. She just doesn't. And if you are to not kind of discredit that completely, I understand people will want to do like nuke builds just and get that EM for like a high vape, a high melt, or whatever. But traditionally, if you're in the abyss and doing normal teams, let's just say, that's Dendro specific. So you can also
Hmm.
just argue that side of the coin. Shiori's going to be in your Geo teams. Nahida's going to be in your Dendro teams. That's just what they do.
Now, looking at everything though in a very basic formula, really the issues that it seems like I've personally come up with Rift is first and foremost, we've seen that Chiori has a lot of issues with obviously the banner in and of itself in its entirety. The 4 stars aren't that great. She's surrounded by pretty strong characters, the Dendro Archon on one side, and a character that's going to rival one of the top spots as a support type character with Shilonen. Never mind anything else that has to be put together with the teams that she's going to be put in. It's very difficult to go after her at this point. So, in a summary basis, it's my personal opinion very difficult to pull Chiori. And right here, I would say most people they should skip.
I would actually totally agree. I think it's to make it more black and white. Chiori is the veteran pull here for people who already kind of have their accounts built. Nahida, Shilonen are sandwiching her as the quote must pulls. And Hu Tao's there if you want her.
Exactly. At the end of the day, we're going to see if you guys really want her, go after her. If you don't, easy skip.
There's just no way, if I'm being honest, because Dory and Candace are just like my camera, quite useless. I mean, no, I think that's a great way to look at it because it's what the heck is my camera doing?
It just sped up all at one time.
I know I saw. You know what I mean? Like if
Mm-hmm.
people want the Geo and they want Shilona, they could also just want.
Well, that's everything we've got talking about Chiori in this specific video. If you guys have any other further thoughts about Chiori in and of herself, what she's surrounded by with Xilonen. How does that hurt her? Talk about the 4 stars as well. We talk a lot about everything with these banners in this video. So go ahead and let us know your thoughts down in the comments. Make sure to like and subscribe, as well as check out our Discord as well. Thank you guys for watching the video, and we'll see you guys in the next one.